The San Antonio Spurs rookie is perhaps the most talked about newcomer in the league since LeBron James, and he really does have a chance to change not just his team, but the entire NBA. But where does he come from? And who are the people that shaped him and his love for basketball? Sure, some of his interest came from his natural abilities and his impressive size, but we're all influenced by people in our lives, typically at a young age. The same is true for him. Let's take a deep dive into the family of Victor Wembanyama, the people who shaped him into who he is today. Here's something that won't surprise you. Being good at sports runs in his family. He inherited his size and his natural ability from his family. The skills in the Wembanyama family didn't just start with his mom and dad. His grandfather, Michel DeFatero, played basketball in the 1960s and was a 6'7" center who could dunk without breaking a sweat. His grandma, named Marie Christine, supported her husband's love of the game and drove him to and from practices every night. This showcases something that will happen again and again throughout his family's history. There was a lot of support and affection. The same is true today. Victor is able to go far because his family has his back. And get this, it's said that his great-great-grandfather stood taller than 7 feet. When you hear that, Victor's incredible height isn't so shocking. Victor's parents, Felix and Elodie, had that same love for sports. The thirst for playing was embedded in the family's DNA. No wonder Victor would later say, "I can't avoid it in my family. Basketball has always been around." Victor's dad is a former Congolese track and field star who is 6'6". In his heyday, he competed in a bunch of sports such as high jump, long jump, and triple jump. Being a track and field star isn't easy, and it requires that players are able to expertly control their bodies. But as you can imagine, being 6'6" makes it harder to control your limbs. So Felix's accomplishments in the sport are super impressive, and this would greatly benefit his son later. As you can imagine, Felix knew a thing or two about how to run and jump, and he taught all of that to his son. Victor was a tall kid even at an early age. That's not that surprising considering how big he became before reaching the age of 20. And since Victor's love of playing sports was natural, his parents absolutely encouraged it and tried to make him the best athlete possible. Imagine you're a young, tall kid who wants to be fast and play sports, and you have a father who literally made a life for himself doing exactly that. It's like he was granted a cheat code to becoming a premier athlete. Felix didn't just educate his son about how to move with speed and skill, he also taught him how to take sportsmanship and his health seriously. If Victor wanted to play sports, Felix was going to teach him how to handle it with professionalism and dedication. Speaking on The Old Man and the Three with J.J. Redick, Wembanyama said that he didn't quite understand why his dad was teaching him such things at a young age, but he said that later his dad's lessons became, quote, crystal clear. Felix taught his son a lot and emphasized the importance of treating his body well, even when just doing something as simple as going up the stairs. You have to remember that strolling up and down the stairs is very different for Victor Wembanyama than it is for you and me. Felix told Victor that he had to be extra careful and put thought into every single move. When you walk and when you go upstairs and you run the proper way, you take care of your muscles at all times without even noticing it. You kind of practice every day, Victor said of his dad's input. When players start to get older, it really shows a difference, he added, which only underlines the points that Felix was making to his son at such a young age. Years later, Victor would tell Slam magazine that his father gave me the passion for knowing subjects in depth. Felix encouraged his son to be a, quote, real technician of sports, of whatever I do. If Victor inherited his ability to move and handle his massive size from his dad, then he inherited a love of basketball from his mother, Elodie. Elodie was very tall, 6'3", and she knows more than enough about basketball. She was a talented player herself, and as she grew older, she gravitated to teaching young people how to master the game. She taught basketball players who were around 4 to 10 years old. Therefore, when Victor was growing up, he had a natural coach who was ready to lead him down a path to being a terrific basketball star. But she didn't, if you can believe it. While Elodie certainly fostered her son's love of the game and surely watched him play and gave him pointers, she never officially trained him. Victor would later say, "It's not that she doesn't want to get involved in my performance, but she knows her role, you know what I mean? And she knows as a parent, sometimes it's better to fade off or not get too involved in your children's path." So Elodie never formally taught her son, and she never pressured him to play basketball, and she also didn't ever envision him being a major international phenomenon in only a few years. Instead, she simply saw Victor as her son, a young boy who naturally loved to play basketball and was looking to get better. Felix and Elodie raised Victor with love and support and also a focus on his health too. His mother prided herself on giving her kids natural and organic food, and she states that she never made the same dish more than once, although Victor has jokingly debated the claim. When he spoke to Sports Illustrated, Victor said that even though Elodie was very supportive of her son, she always said that basketball was, quote, secondary to him being a happy kid. The first thing was always growing as a person and being a good human being. That came before being a good basketball player, Victor said about his mom's approach to raising him. All of this was creating a basketball masterpiece. Even at a young age, Victor was already very tall and very talented on the court. And both of his parents were adding to this, creating a positive environment that encouraged him to try his best, believe in himself, and follow his dreams. Plus, they both had the capable, proven skills that they used to help craft him into an excellent athlete. Yet the rise of young Victor Wembanyama was still a bit shocking, even to people close to the family. French sports agent Bouna Ndiaye publicly stated how surprising it was to find out that Felix and Elodie had a basketball wonder kid living in their house. They never talked to me about their son. That's not who they are. I first heard about him when he was 12. Everyone knew that Felix and Elodie had a son, and they also knew that he was clearly built to play ball and had a couple of parents who likely passed down their skills. But there have been plenty of tall and athletic kids throughout the years who haven't ended up being basketball sensations. However, as Victor got older, everyone around him became well aware of just how special he was. Not only was he built to play, he loved the game and was darn good at it too. Even in his preteen years, both of Victor's parents knew that he could end up being sensational, but they went to great lengths to make sure he would discover that on his own, without being forced into anything by them. "My parents were never hard on me, and they let me live and grow," Victor would later say. That was the approach that Felix and Elodie didn't just use with Victor, but with his two siblings as well. Victor has a brother and a sister, and you surely won't be shocked to find out that they are also both very talented young athletes. Victor is the middle Wembanyama sibling. His older sister, Eve, is 21 years old and is also a true baller. Eve isn't as tall as Victor, but let's be honest, few people ever are. However, at 6'1", she has mastered the basketball court for a few years now. Her parents followed the same path that they laid out for Victor. They encouraged and embraced her love of sports, but they were never too hard on her and never pressured her. Obviously, this worked out well because Eve has represented France in multiple basketball events and has played for several leagues, including EuroLeague Women. Eve is not only known for her prowess on the court, but also her social media presence too. Eve has a very popular Instagram account that not only highlights her and her teammates and their wins, but also her personal life too. She's been celebrated for her good looks and her great fashion sense. Her fashion was on display back in June, when Victor was in New York for the NBA draft. Sitting by his side was Eve, who was overcome with emotion seeing her brother getting the #1 draft pick. "It's amazing. We're all so proud. We're very happy for you," Eve said, barely holding back tears. This was a very touching moment that created a ton of headlines, but Eve's outfit also made a splash. She was decked out in a sleek black suit that coordinated perfectly with what her brother wore. Her ensemble got a ton of attention, and Eve's profile rose as her brother's did. It's clear that Eve and her brother get along very well. They've been seen together on multiple occasions, celebrating one another's victories and obviously being a huge source of support. Some siblings allow fame and success to divide them, but that isn't the case here. Their loving, close relationship made headlines again recently when Eve dressed up as her brother for Halloween. It was a very humorous move by her, and one that again set social media on fire. There is one other Wembanyama child, Oscar. The youngest of the three, Oscar may be on a path similar to his brothers, and there's a chance that he could be competing against his brother in the NBA in only a few years. Oscar is only 15 years old, but even at a young age, he looks incredible. He's already 6'5" and built a lot like his brother, with a very slim frame and lightning fast speed. He actually got his start playing handball in France, but has moved on to basketball just like Victor. And he's a standout on his team, having played for the French U15 team back in 2020. This is the same team that Victor once played for, and it paved the way for him to start his professional career. Will the same path be laid out for Oscar? Already, there's great speculation about what's next for the two other Wembanyama siblings. Really, that's to be expected because their brother has gained so much attention over the last few years. Even before he started in his rookie year, NBA fans had fallen in love with Victor, his talents, and what he could be capable of. The entire league got Wembanyama fever, and there is now a hunger for more from this talented family. But before we can speculate too much about Eve and Oscar, we have to let Victor establish himself in the league. His first year got off to a pretty promising start, and he has the chance to get even better in the months ahead. Throughout this journey from France to the NBA, Victor's family has been by his side for it all. Both of his siblings were with him when he was selected by the San Antonio Spurs in the draft, and his parents have sat on the sidelines for numerous games throughout his young career. This is a sign of just how close and supportive the family is. It's about more than basketball to them. When speaking with Malika Andrews a few months ago, Victor said that one of the difficult things about his fame is the fact that it's separating him from the rest of the Wembanyamas. "I think what I'll miss the most is just being close to my family," he said. Just because he is making a name for himself in America doesn't mean that the rest of his family can be with him. For someone who has relied on them and their support all his life, this is a tough pill to swallow. Victor once told ABC News that his family made a lot of, quote, sacrifices in order for him to become the star that he is today, and he always had every intention of making their lives better because they made his possible. "They're going to be able to retire early," he said happily, proving that he is going to take care of his family now that he has hit the big time. The Wembanyama family lucked out when they were granted the sort of genetics that can create basketball superstars. But that's not what has helped so many of them find success in sports. Instead, it's the close-knit and loving atmosphere that has let them achieve so much. Sometimes fame and big paychecks that come with professional sports drive families apart, but for this French family, all of it has only brought them closer together. The Wembanyama family is a shining example of how much support can help a young player, but not all NBA families have been as great as this one. Some of them can get downright messy, like those of Scottie Pippen's and Larry Bird's. Want to take a look at their complicated histories? Well, you know we've got you covered.